This is the Amp Hour Podcast, released November 5th, 2018. Episode 414. An interview with Scotty Allen.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
And I'm Scotty Allen from Strange Parts.
Welcome, Scotty.
Thank you.
You're in the States. This is not normal for us.
No.
Usually we see you on camera across the way.
Yeah, this is not typical. I make it out here a couple times a year, so I'm glad we were able to meet up.
Me too. And we were just at SuperCon, so
yeah.
That was. We're both about an octave lower. We're like, hello.
I know.
I'm Chris, and you're Scotty, and we're gonna record the Amp Hour now. So.
I know. I think we both spent like the past 3 days speaking nonstop to a bunch of other really exciting geeks.
And look at this thing! And look at this thing! I can't believe it! Oh my god! Yeah. So, that was really fun, and. Yeah, I'm glad you made it over here, though.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, it was a very last-minute decision. I booked my tickets like 6 days in advance.
That's a ballsy move, I gotta say. Yeah.
Well, I was planning on not coming, and then I was remembering how much I enjoyed coming last year, and I was like, screw it, I'll come.
Right. And
it's a crazy thing.
You gave a talk last year too.
I did.
So I'll post that talk. What was that about?
It was about the iPhone headphone jack hack I did.
Okay.
So I was really sad when Apple removed the headphone jack from the iPhone, and I decided that maybe I should try and add it back.
Right. So people who started listening, like, oh, Scotty, Strange Parts, sounds familiar. They're like, iPhone video. Yeah. I remember. Yeah. So how much of it is you getting people just wanting to talk to you about iPhone versus other stuff?
Yeah, so that's the thing that people definitely know me for the most, is the iPhone stuff I've done. And I've done, like, I would say probably half of the videos that I've done have been sort of like iPhone hacks and iPhone adventures, mostly in China. But I'm really excited to do a bunch of other stuff with Strange Parts too. I just finished a project trying to build my own RFID tag.
I saw it.
That took me halfway around the world.
Yeah.
And that was really, really fun.
That's great.
So I'm really excited to sort of continue to branch out and do more things. I guess the way I think of Strange Parts is like a travel show for geeks.
I was gonna say, it's like you're like Anthony Bourdain, but more tech than eating. Don't eat the stuff. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, wash your hands a couple times before you eat the stuff, because there's probably lead and chemicals all over the place.
Yeah. And like I think, Anthony Bourdain, like, obviously that's a big reputation to live up to. I don't think I'm anywhere near his level of awesomeness.
Have you ever read or listened to his first book too?
No. I'll have to check
Kitchen
it out.
Confidential. It's raunchy and fun, and
I can only imagine.
Great look into what the world of cooking is like. But I don't know how real it is because I've never been there. But it's very voyeuristic in that way. So.
But I think a lot of his work. I think what's compelling about a lot of his work is that food is the excuse to explore countries and to dive deep into cultures and humanity.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of what I want to do with Strange Parts as well, but from a tech angle.
Nice.
And sort of, so it's really important to me to not just do like a technically interesting project,
right,
but is to use that as a window into interesting parts of the world and of humanity and cultures and I mean, that's sort of how I got started with the channel, was through travel and sort of going to Shenzhen and discovering this amazing place and being so excited about it and wanting to share that.
Yeah.
And I heard about this idea of trying to build your own phone from somebody that I was hanging out with in China over beer, and I was like, that's a really good idea, but is also like a great way to sort of like tell this story, right, and dive deeper into it.
Yeah. Well, the travel thing is interesting because I remember, like, I had learned about your channel through the iPhone videos and stuff like that. And then, like, one time you're just like, I'm going to go figure out how to get, like, manhole cover?
A manhole cover in India.
Yeah. And so, like, oh, yeah, okay. So now you're over there.
Yeah.
So, like, so it's kind of, eventually you're going to end up in Antarctica at the station probably, right?
That'd be really cool. I'd love to do that.
Former guest Sean Meehan used to work there 2 winters or whatever they are. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's... Whew, yeah, that is...
work my way up to that one.
I think down. It's work your way down.
Work my way down, yeah. Exactly. I've always been intrigued by Antarctica.
Yeah, that's cool. So let's step back then. So how did this start? How did you get here? I remember you said you were a San Francisco person prior to that?
Yep. Yeah, I was in San Francisco, kind of bouncing around the startup world. So I originally... so I have a computer science degree, and in 2006.
In San Francisco? This is...
Yeah, right. Shocking.
How does this work?
Shocking. So I originally came out there. I went to school in Boulder, Colorado, and I came out for a job with Google. And so I was a software engineer on web search for a couple of years, like 2006 to 2008. And that was amazing, and an amazing sort of... it was almost like doing a master's in professional software engineering, because their processes are so great, and there's so much great mentorship and stuff. But I got tired. I really enjoy building stuff and then shipping it right away. And that's like when you get to the scale of like Google Web Search, that's not really how it works.
They don't do that.
Anymore.
Yeah, if they do, they get in big trouble. Yeah,
right. And so I spent a lot of time doing analysis and sort of a lot of code review of other people's code and stuff. And I said, you know what? Like I think maybe I would be happier like working at smaller, like earlier stage companies. And so I kind of bounced around a couple startups in the Valley. And then I said, you know what? I put myself through college doing software consulting. Oh, cool. And I really enjoyed that. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to go start something of my own. And so I started a small like online software as a service company, and ran that for a few years and kind of grew that to the point that it sustained me, and had a small team.
Oh, wow.
But it was like a B2B sales company, and it turns out I hate enterprise sales. We were selling to like Fortune 500.
Oh,
and so it just was like these...
A lot of ties in your past then? Yeah.
Yeah, not so much because I did it mostly remotely, but like a lot of conference calls.
Right, the thing where you're wearing a suit up top and like pajama bottoms below. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, yeah, it was, 9 month sales cycles and, just a lot of talking to project managers and procurement and going through large company procurement cycles. And I said, you know what, I just don't enjoy this. And I had originally built the company with the goal of enabling me to go full-time remote and to start traveling full-time. Mm-hmm. So we never had an office, and the goal was always to build it in a way that would allow me to travel full-time. Uh-huh. And I finally did that in 2014, though the catalyst was somewhat unfortunate. The outcome was great. So I accidentally set my apartment on fire.
A little Tyler Durden, huh?
Yeah, right.
Wow. Okay.
Which is the whole story in and of itself. But it meant that I like got rid of a lot of my possessions.
Oh,
and
minimalist by default.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I highly recommend apartment fires as a way to shed off your worldly possessions.
Yeah. That couch. I would never have to buy a couch again.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly that couch. And yeah, it was an IKEA couch.
Yeah.
So it was well fits the.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. Chuck Palahniuk.
Yeah. Exactly.
The soothsayer.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly. Man. So I went. I lived with a friend for a couple months, and then I started traveling. And I had traveled a lot in the past. Sort of in the middle of college, I'd taken 4 years and worked, and then traveled a bunch. So in Asia, and so that's still really been part of my sort of DNA of sort of traveling to weird and out of the way parts of the world.
That's cool.
And so I was really eager to get back to that, and while still sort of doing engineering and technology work and stuff. And so I'd been nomadic for a year or two, and I started hearing about this crazy place, Shenzhen, where it was sort of the electronics mecca of the world. I'd seen some blog posts by Ian from Dangerous Prototypes.
Oh yeah.
I think I'd seen
former guest of the show.
Yeah.
Okay. He's been on the show.
Awesome.
His is one of the most crazy stories where he's like, I was in Amsterdam, then I went to Shenzhen, and I just never went back. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, my story's pretty similar.
Oh, really?
Except that I was traveling, and then I actually, like, the catalyst for going out there, I'd started hearing about it from, like, Ian's blog posts, and I think, like, Evil Mad Scientists, like...
I don't know, maybe they've been there, yeah.
I think they wrote a blog post. Anyway, there were a few, like, little breadcrumbs, and I was like, this is interesting. And then...
so what time frame is this?
This is, like, end of 2014, maybe?
Okay.
And then... Or 2015, maybe. And then I found out that Mitch Altman, who I know from Noisebridge, does a yearly hacker trip to China.
Yeah, and I think it's coming up. Or no, it just happened.
They're there right now.
Yeah. It's usually in October, right?
Yeah.
October and
November timeframe. So yeah, they're currently in Beijing,
Yep.
and I'll meet up with them in Shenzhen in a week or two.
Nice. Okay.
And so that was finally the catalyst that got me out there.
Okay.
So I went out for 3 weeks with him. We did Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Shanghai, and Beijing. And like the first time I saw the markets in Shenzhen, I just immediately fell in love.
Oh yeah.
And by the time we were done in Beijing, I had bought a ticket from Beijing, a train, like a 24-hour train ticket from Beijing back to Shenzhen.
Oh wow!
And spent another month like hanging out with Ian and sort of the hacker tribe that had sort of built around him and Dangerous Prototypes in Shenzhen. And like we would go out most nights for sort of barbecue and beer. And I was coming back with like half a page of notes of like all of the stuff that I had learned just hanging out with people that were doing manufacturing in China, sort of doing open source small batch manufacturing type stuff. And just hanging out with people. The guy that I learned a ton from was Greg from Rev Robotics, who makes they make parts for FIRST robotics teams.
Oh, cool.
And he's a toy industry veteran, and so he's like
So he's doing trips over there, 3 times a year to get ready for holiday season stuff.
Exactly.
Like that.
Every time they're opening an injection molding tool, he's out there. He sort of batches them up, and so just hanging out with him and just hearing all his war stories was literally just an education in sort of engineering for manufacturing. And I just the longer I spent there, the more I fell in love, and the more time I was spending in the markets, and it's just literally like a kid in a candy shop.
I'm afraid I still haven't been actually. So.
Oh man, you've got to make it.
I know, a podcast about electronics, and it's like, you haven't been to the place where most of that stuff is made?
You got to come. Flights are cheap.
I know.
Round trip Shenzhen direct to LA is $450.
Oh, that's not
right
bad.
now anyway. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Makes it easier to come here. That's good.
It makes it very easy. Makes it very easy.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So you decide. It's like, what is the process like to then be like, all right, well, I'm just gonna stay?
Well, it's sort of gradual, right? Because you come and you like stay for a month, and then you go away and you're like, oh, I really want to go back, and then you go back for 2 months, and then. Well,
this is a little different though too, because you just a traveler in general, you're a nomad.
So it was very easy for me. Like I didn't have an apartment at that point.
Right.
I had a small storage unit in San Francisco, but like I didn't have a lot of ties, so it was really easy for me to just go and book a flight and get a hotel and then stay as long as I wanted.
That's great.
Those trips just got more and more frequent and longer, and now I'm there, a good portion of the year.
Do you not move there? I guess because you don't live anywhere, right?
I have an apartment that I maintain there now, just because I've got a microscope and
you gotta have all that gear.
Yeah, exactly. I've sort of accumulated more and more gear, which sort of like really pains the like minimalist traveler in me. But I'm drawing the line at I'm trying not to accumulate so much stuff that I would be really sad if it all just got thrown out.
Got it.
And then that way I still have
the benefits to the market is that you can just go and buy more. Yeah.
Exactly. For a long time, I just had like a plastic tote that I would store in the manager's office of the hotel that I stayed at.
That's nice.
And then it was the microscope that actually tipped me over the edge, which is really funny because it's a $300 microscope, and I was paying $750 a month rent to store this $300 microscope.
Wow. Okay.
But now I've kind of got the whole lab and shooting stuff and whatnot. So it's
Got it. What about language stuff? I mean, that's
So language is a big deal. Most people in China don't speak fluent English or don't speak any English at all.
I would expect that to be the case.
It's a little bit surprising in that a lot of other places you travel in Asia, there is a lot more English spoken. China's really, very sort of, there's very little spoken. Right? You're never going to get into a taxi and have the taxi driver speak a word of English. And so that can be very challenging as a traveler who doesn't speak any English. And then also just China is so big and has been closed for so long that there are a lot of things that are just not super set up for foreigners and for travelers and stuff. So,
right.
There's a lot of things that you need a Chinese ID card for, things like that.
Right.
And so it's all doable, but there's nothing that I really wish I could do that that I can't do. It's just a lot of things are more difficult, or I have to go through a separate process.
Right. Yeah, I was doing with that just I was working with a vendor on Alibaba.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, you have WePay? And I'm like, I thought I did.
Yeah.
And then I realized that there's actually a different thing of like, there's an online WePay, which is like for, is it WePay or Alipay? Sorry, Alipay.
Yep.
And so Alipay, I had that, but it's for the online one versus the in-person one and all that stuff. And
yeah, and so some of that comes down to like currency control.
Sure.
Stuff because it is a controlled currency, and they want to control conversions from USD to RMB.
Yeah.
And
I think it
honestly,
was just like a residency requirement too. Like it was like only, like US is very similar. I've been learning more about the US banking stuff, and it's like, it's very different. If you want to get paid across the country lines, it's very different. So
yeah, totally. So people mostly use WePay. That's like the payment platform in China.
Yep.
Which is really amazing. Like, are you familiar with how it works?
I saw your video about that's the one where you walked in, the scanning. That's how the RFID stuff started, right? Because you like walk up with the little scan code, right?
Yeah. So it's all QR code based.
Yeah.
And so most of the time, like in small shops and small vendors, you're scanning their QR code, and then you type in how much you want to pay, and then you just show them the screen, and you're done, and they get a notification on their phone. And that's cool because the barrier to entry is so low. I've seen like all of the street food vendors that just have a little cart have WePay, and I've even seen beggars with a laminated WeChat QR code in their bowl.
Yeah.
Because people aren't carrying cash as much anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I was on a flight for about 4 hours sitting next to someone who's brought some RFID stuff to China, according to him. And I apologize, I don't remember his name. But he went on for 4 hours about how they went to they skipped RFID even though they should have gone to that right away, and it's more QR code based.
Yeah.
And how silly that is. But I
don't think it's that silly because like
every phone has a camera. Not every phone has an RFID thing, and then the interface.
And like to accept like WePay, all you need is a printer.
Yeah. Right. That's true. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you don't even really need a phone. You just need access to a phone to set up a WePay account tied to a bank account.
Yeah, right.
And then, you just need the printed out QR code. And so it's literally everywhere.
Yeah.
And then that's because of that, everybody in China knows what a QR code is and has been scanning them all day long every day. Right. And so you can do all sorts of other cool stuff with it.
That's interesting too, because that's like that's what the dream of marketers was in the mid 2000s when they put it on every movie poster and it was like, what the hell is that thing?
Oh, it gets far better.
Oh, yeah.
So, like one of the restaurants I go to on a regular basis, you sit down and there's a QR code at every seat on every table, and you scan the QR code and you get a menu through WeChat that has pictures and everything. You choose what you'd like.
Yeah.
You hit pay. It goes through WePay.
They know what table. They know what spot you're at.
And they know what spot you're at. And a couple minutes later, a waiter shows up with your food.
And the robot will just replace the waiter eventually.
Yeah.
And,
and so it's no installation of apps, right? It's there's no barrier to doing that, right?
Yeah. It's like a pull versus a push, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so and the U.S. has not figured out how to do that, right? It's always sort of like.
Right,
because you have to jump through three hoops to sort of like do basic stuff, right? And it usually involves installing an app, which is a very heavyweight sort of activity.
Sorry about that. Little mic problem there.
Yeah, no worries.
So that's crazy. So, so then, how did that work for you then? So, difficult to get as someone coming in from the outside, or no?
So I had to get a Chinese bank account.
Okay, so
that is the
big
highly enabling thing.
Got it.
Which has gotten harder, I've heard.
Okay.
But it used to be that you could just show up at the bank with your passport and like an hour later you'd have a bank account.
Got it.
And so then that's enabling to then use WePay and all of that.
Okay.
I don't quite know. Yeah, I don't.
So it's not credit based then; it's debit based. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And so then the interesting, like, this is getting into sort of economics, but like WePay, a lot of the money that goes into WePay never leaves.
Yeah, right. So PayPal, same thing, right?
Right.
It's like the idea is it just sits in there and accrues interest for them, and that's how they make their money.
Yeah, right. And it's quite a bit of money because the whole country is kind of functioning on WePay. Everything from like paying for taxis, paying for food, to like relatively large ticket exchanges in the markets is all happening through WePay.
Have there been any outages yet?
I don't know of any.
I mean, like, what happens, right? I mean, like...
I have no idea.
The pessimist in me thinks that...
Yeah, I have no idea, but it would be really scary, I think.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
Yeah, because I don't think people carry a lot of cash, and I think there is a little bit of a fearful mentality of like about the future in China, and so I think
Locally or internationally?
Yeah, I don't know. This is sort of speculative, but I wonder if there would be a rush on ATMs
Oh,
if that happened.
Yeah.
And that could be really amazing.
Right, or just keeping a little bit of cash in your apartment, that kind of thing. Yeah. That's monetary stuff is weird.
Yeah.
So okay, so how does that then impact? So if I was going to go visit for a month,
Yeah.
what would you tell me to do?
So so
would I get a WePay account?
Yeah, it's tricky, and I don't know if I don't know what the current path to that is right now.
Okay.
It used to be like get a bank account, but that's getting harder and harder. So like I think they want you to have like a work permit now, which is pretty involved to get.
Yeah.
So then that would give you WePay. You can get a WePay account now, but it's just hard to charge it up, right?
Oh,
so it's
like how to get money into it.
How to get money into it? Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So I don't have a great answer to that, mostly because I've sort of solved it for myself. And
Sure, of course, right. Well, and I've seen blog posts about this before because it was like people that were traveling there or wanting to move there or whatever, and so it was like, here's how to kind of navigate the system.
Yeah.
Even to the point of like, click here on the website. This is only going to be in Chinese, so you have to like do that. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's that. I think there's sort of like getting SIM cards and internet access sorted out. Sure. There's sort of the Great Firewall, and so there are issues around that that you need to sort out. There's sort of language is just a huge barrier, as we talked about earlier. So Google, having like Google Translate installed on your phone, and then I use a couple other things. I use Microsoft Translate, which can do it will translate all of the words or characters it finds on a given picture. So you can take a picture, or what I use it for the most is app screenshots. So like for a Chinese app, I'll screenshot the app and then load it up in Microsoft Translate, and it will translate the whole screen at once.
So like OCR.
And then overlay the text. And that's hugely enabling.
Wow.
So that allows me to do like delivery food. Because I speak some Chinese, but I don't read very much, and those are really like pretty separate skills, right? There, because you basically just have to memorize all of the characters,
right?
Or you have to memorize every character.
Right. I can't imagine like looking at like an S, right, and being like, I don't know,
right.
What sound does that make? What it's so baked into my brain at this point that it's learning it. And to be fair, I learned Japanese for like 3 semesters, but that is gone.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you have some sense.
And boy, did I guess wrong.
Yeah.
My friend took Mandarin and did a little better.
Yeah.
That's not true. I had another friend who ended up going to work in Japan, so no big deal. Okay. So for a month, if someone shows up, plan to be in cash, but it's going to be more difficult.
Yeah, and it's fine. You just going to sort of get some size from vendors and stuff. Like I gotta find change for you now.
Yeah.
But it's very workable.
Well, what about then in the markets now? So now you're going to buy some components, right? You've got a project idea, as we see on your videos. You used WePay for that thing?
I'll use a mixture of WePay and cash.
Okay.
It sort of depends on the day and stuff and what I'm doing and whatnot.
Okay, so transactionally, that's just not that tough, you're saying?
No. It's not a barrier. I think WePay is mostly just cool in how frictionless it is. But it's not a strict requirement for most things. There's a couple things like the bicycle rentals. Have you heard about all the shared bicycles?
I've done it here, and my old job, we kind of worked with that a little bit, but it's like you scan a code and then it just blips it and opens it, right?
Yeah, and you could park a bike anywhere. You just flip the lock closed and on the sidewalk or whatever.
Right.
And so for those, well, I guess that's different now. I guess now you can probably bind those to a credit card as well. It used to be that you needed WePay to get those, and there was no real way to do it in cash. But I think they've at least the big companies that have sort of sustained the initial bubble crash, which are like Ofo and Mobike. I think they both have you can put in an international credit card now. So.
I used an Ofo in Seattle before they withdrew from that market.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Those things are not great bikes.
No. But you can usually find one that has 2 wheels and rolls. Everything else is sort of optional, but
right. So I was watching I forget who you were filming with, but you guys were riding through the markets, and I remember there was a Christmas market, or you guys were different stands. What was that video?
So that was we did 2 videos and that was with Colin, a broadcast, who's a friend, another YouTuber in China, and now he's sort of traveling all over. So that was up in Yiwu, which is outside of Shanghai.
Okay.
And Yiwu is unique because it has the largest general commodities wholesale market in the world.
Yeah. Right.
And I think it's 7 kilometers long.
Yeah.
And like,
oh man. Yeah. It made me,
40,000 booths. I forget the numbers, but the metrics are insane.
when you guys were like going through the signs of like, oh, where do we want to go? Do we want to go to that village or this village? And it was just like, just the most random shit. You know?
Well, it's one long series of buildings that are all interconnected with overpasses.
Yeah.
Like 7 kilometers long. I think it's 1 million square meters.
Oh my god, that's so much space.
Which is just, I mean, it was actually a challenge from a video perspective because neither one of us could really figure out how to tell the story of how big it was, visually.
Right.
Right.
Well, even with a drone, right? You
even
run
with
out
a
of
drone.
you run out of sight line, right?
Right. Well, we also were fighting the markets are right on the edge of the exclusion zone for the no-fly zone for the airport.
Oh,
and so we couldn't actually fly over the markets, which would have helped.
Yeah. Well, even with Google Maps though too,
still,
like you
it's
don't get the scale, right?
Yeah.
Until you're in it, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, and when you're in it, it takes you like if you stop and look at stuff, it will take you 8 hours to walk from one end to the other. Mm-hmm. And then I think that's really hard to show in a 20 or 30 minute video format.
I was actually thinking about that. I was traveling. Oh, I was down in New Orleans for just a trip or something, and there's just kitsch shops, right? It's from New Orleans, but I remember your video.
It's all from you.
It's all the same thing.
It's all from It's all from you or that area in China. I mean, there were just shop after shop of like generic refrigerator magnets that were like palm trees and parrots and whatever, and they said Cancun, and then the next one it was the exact same design but just had like Spain or whatever.
Oh man,
Barcelona.
I don't know if it'd be. I also remember watching that and thinking like, I don't know if it'd be better or worse. My mom like loves Christmas. I'm not sure if it'd be better or worse to take her to something like that. If she'd be like going nuts, or if she'd be like, oh, it is all this. You know what I mean? Like
I think
it's like bimodal in that way.
Yeah, I think like for me, it definitely like burst my bubble on a number of things.
Exactly.
Of like, oh, this is all like BS.
Right.
There's a lot of like Americana kitsch there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, like all American like antique stores.
Oh, you want to get an old Coca-Cola sign?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was made last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yep. There's actually been a lot done on the Christmas industry I think like I forget the exact metric, but I think it's 60 to 80% of all Christmas decorations are made in or in the surrounding area.
Oh my god.
And I think like New York Times has done a piece.
Okay.
And they were it was like a photojournalist piece where they went to factories that were making ornaments and shot a bunch of photos, and they're gorgeous. But they interviewed one of the workers.
Yeah.
And
That's what I always wonder about. Yeah.
What do you know about Christmas? And they basically didn't really know very much about
it's just
Christmas.
This weird design. Everything's red and white. What's the big deal?
It's red and white, and I think it's kind of like Chinese New Year.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like from a
presents, and you celebrate and you eat a lot and you
and like everybody's got some time off and like and like I mean like I don't I mean
I could probably tell you about as much about Chinese New Year.
Right, exactly. Right. Like I don't think there's anything negative.
Don't try and travel. How about that?
Right.
It's a nightmare at the airports and train stations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Largest modern human migration.
I know. Yeah. So what do you do for that? You just
get out. Yeah. Get out. Like
come to States.
Yeah, because again, I'm feeling numbers. I think it's 80 or 90% of the population of Shenzhen leaves for Chinese New Year. And it's a city of 20 million.
Yeah.
And so it literally just turns into a ghost town and nothing's open.
They should film like a zombie movie there at that time,
Well, I've thought about staying to film a video about it because you can literally walk down the main boulevards that are 6 lanes of traffic on either side.
Right. Like that scene in Vanilla Sky where they did that in New York Times. You ever seen that movie?
No.
Oh man, but it's like I don't know how the hell they did it. Money is the answer, but like they filmed in New York Times like Tom Cruise running down the center of Times Square. I said New York Times, sorry. Times Square. He's running down the center of it with no cars or anything.
They must have filmed it like in the middle of the night.
Maybe it was a CG, but I have no idea how they did that. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. You
So,
should do that though. I'm down.
Yeah. It would be kind of interesting. It's just like it's actually difficult being there because there's no restaurants open, there's no shops open. Like you can't get food. Like I think McDonald's is the only place to get food that's open.
Wow. So. Sounds like you're not a cooking your own food kind of guy, huh?
No. No, I guess I could stockpile, but
yeah, right.
Yeah,
the takeout only lasts for so long.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So you've done well. Let's go through some of your videos. So obviously, the iPhone stuff is a big one. You've done RFID now.
Yep.
What are some other ones that like people should keep an eye on?
Oh, let's see.
And there's multiple iPhone ones as well, right?
Yeah, there's like a pretty solid handful of iPhone stuff at this point. The RFID was really cool. Like, so we did that. That sort of happened by accident. When I was up in Yiwu with Call and Broadcast, we ran across a cashierless convenience store.
That's right, yeah.
Which is sort of like, I mean, it's the same idea as the Amazon stores that they've been doing, but it's all based on RFID tags. And
I thought Amazon was doing like machine vision or like
I think so.
Vision stuff.
I think it's mostly or entirely vision. I don't think they have any RFID.
Okay.
And actually, like, so at the end of the second RFID video that I did, I got to visit the office of Impinj, which has the. Oh, yeah. I'm getting a little ahead in the story, but like, okay, yeah. but they're right next to Amazon, and they said they had been to the first. Is it, what are they called? Amazon Go stores?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that it?
There's one in Chicago, but it's open from Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. It's like, because it's in the loop and it's only for business people. I'm like, this doesn't help me.
Yeah, right. You can't actually,
Amazon Go Away store.
Yeah, right. So they had said they'd been down to the store and said that, it didn't. It was all visual. It wasn't using any RFID.
It doesn't seem very sustainable in that way of like, oh, we're going to set up every store with all this infrastructure. And it's like...
Yeah, I don't really get it. Yeah. Particularly after talking to the Impinj folks about like what their stuff can do.
Yeah.
I mean, their theoretical read range on their tags is like 10 meters.
Wow.
Which, and they're doing all sorts of like, they had like phased antenna arrays, so they could actually like figure out they could not just read a tag, but they could also figure out like where the tag was roughly.
Right.
Which gets super interesting.
You start bouncing signals and that's cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
So the RFID adventure was pretty cool. I've started doing factory tours. Yeah. So I mean, I think like one of the biggest, most interesting parts of China for me has been how open the factories are and sort of how much manufacturing is done there and
we mentioned the JLC video a couple times on here as well. I thought that was just really great as a look at the process, right? Yeah. It was. I'm sure that they were showing you what they wanted you to see, but also like god damn, they move a lot of stuff, like So it was really impressive. I've been to a number of PCB factories, and that was definitely like the most modern and the highest volume I've seen. Yeah. Wait, before we move on, sorry.
Yeah.
I asked this on the show, and I was asking Dave about this. What did they do with the transparencies? Did they just throw those out?
I have no idea.
I want to hope they recycle them, but I don't know if they would. If you ever talk to them, can you ask them for me?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I can ask. Yeah.
Because like there's shit, like I just think about it. Like there's 10, 12 transparencies per. Each one is a different exposure layer. Every layer that I send as a Gerber becomes a transparency or part of one, right?
Yeah. So they've got one per copper layer.
Yep.
And then one for solder mask.
Yep.
On each side.
Yep.
Right. So if you got a 2-layer board, that's 4 right there.
Yeah.
And then they'll have silk screens, but they don't, for low run, they won't do. They won't make silk screens. They'll just print them on with the UV printer.
Yeah.
And then.
But still, like at the numbers they're doing, it's insane. Right?
I mean, it's like at least 4 to 6 per panel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and they they'll obviously pack more orders onto a single panel if it's low run, but but still, I mean, it's they're moving a lot of panels.
Right. Well, and Dave was saying on the show when we were talking, he's like, well, usually it used to be you would save them, right? Because you would, if you're doing multiple runs, you save them, and then you just have this as a revision. That's the setup charge, right?
Yeah.
But on low run stuff, it's not like that. So
So it gets even crazier when you get into flex PCBs, right? Which I got to visit I visited a couple FPC factories, but I did one on camera as part of the headphone jack video. And when you get into FPC, you start making steel tools to stamp the Kapton.
Yep.
And now you're making like a real like machined chunk of steel. And they save all of those. Like there's shelves and shelves and shelves.
Right. Just like you would have at an injection molding factory, right? You have the tool sitting on a shelf and you use it for the 100,000 shots you get or whatever.
Exactly.
And it's done.
Exactly. And so the economics there get kind of crazy. But I mean, it's cheap. I was doing prototype runs of FPC for like $75.
And that's not, you can't gang those up either, right? You have to do a full tool for that?
I think, I forget. We kind of went back and forth. They can do some stuff with laser.
Okay.
And so I think maybe they didn't make a full tool until I did a run of 1,000 after the first couple prototype runs. And so I think that was the point at which they made a steel tool, but I forget.
Okay. Well, and like we saw Ben Krasno talk about last night on the SuperCon stage, he's doing with lasers too, man.
Yeah, I missed that talk, unfortunately. I'll have to go back.
I'm very excited for all anything Ben does as well. Your channel, his channel. It's really bad. Like, especially when you guys like all release them like overnight too. I'll show up in the morning and be like, oh, I got like an hour and a half of video to watch now.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. So I love it. I love it. Like this
I shoot for like morning East Coast time.
Yeah.
So that's my.
It doesn't help actually. That's when I get in the office.
It's still pretty
it's
middle of the night.
It's now 11 in the morning and I'm still sitting here watching a video.
Yep.
Anyways. That's cool. So more factory tours. Like what else have you been so actually maybe it's stepping back. How do you set that up? Is it just like my friend has a person there and I'm going to ask the owner to go through, or what is it?
Yeah, usually that's what I've done thus far. So I've done 3 thus far. I did a 3D printing factory like an industrial SLA.
They had machines on machines. That was crazy.
Oh yeah. They're very serious machines.
Yeah.
And their turn time is insane. I mean, they'll from receiving an order to shipping it out is under 24 hours, which is pretty amazing given the amount of like hand finishing they're doing.
Yeah.
And then I did like fiberglass and carbon fiber factory, and unfortunately we visited those right before Chinese New Year, so they had mostly shut down. But
which video was that in? Was that part of another video?
I think it's I accidentally went to a hockey stick factory is the name of the title.
Oh, okay.
Or it's the title of the video.
Okay.
And we actually shot both of those the same day, and those were just tagging along with my friend Sasha, who was over there doing manufacturing for a food delivery robot company.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so we were visiting 2 of his vendors. And so that's an easy way, and just sort of asking the bosses when we're there, like, hey, I've got a YouTube channel, like, would it be okay to film? And I'll put a link to your factory in the description.
Well, that's great.
And they're usually pretty happy to sort of to have that publicity. And then like for JLC PCB, they approached me and they said we'd like to do a tour of our factory. Like, we've seen your other factory videos. Would you be interested in doing that? And I actually had wanted to do. I have a list of probably 50 or 100 different types of factories.
Let's either get a link to the list or get a highlight here, because I'm guessing that some of our listening audience here has actually been to some and might be able to make some intros. So this could be some amp hour magic here, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. So I will start with my white whale, like the factory that I most want to get into. Okay. I would love to go see a silicon fab.
Oh, well, I used to work in one of those.
Okay.
You're not going to go into Samsung's fab, though, sorry.
Right, so that's the problem, is that I'm definitely not going to get into like a tier 1 fab, right?
Yeah.
A TSMC is not going to be like, sure, come on and bring your camera.
Yeah.
But what I'm hoping is that...
The camera might be the hard part, actually. You're going to scrub that thing down, man.
Yeah. Right, yeah. So my thought is, can I find like a older fab that is running on significantly older processes, much larger process nodes, that, at this point, like none of the technology is super secretive, right? And we can just go through the basic process without doing any of the super esoteric stuff.
I mean, honestly, if you're not looking at I think the thing they'll be sensitive about is process to getting into the fab and the location and stuff like that. Yeah. But then as long as you're not shooting any of the screens, that's where all the magic is on the machines.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to do just like a walkthrough video of sort of all of the basic processes that are involved in doing silicon fab and in making a chip. And that's like the #1 requested video.
Oh yeah.
When I sort of asked,
people are going to be bored to tears by that. It's cool at first, but man, there's like 300 steps, and you're like, by the end, you're going to watch that again, huh?
Yeah. Well, we'll use a little bit of editing magic and skip over.
Right. Videographers and your magic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, PCBs struggles from that too. Like there were 25 or 30 steps.
And now back again, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That by the end, the factory was like, you want to go back in the clean room again?
Yeah. Right.
Like, we all have to suit up again.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, what else is on the list?
So let's see what else. I want to do LiPo batteries.
Oh, there was did you watch that video from one of the drone people? There was a drone video.
Yes, I've seen it. I've not watched it all the way through. I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
And we've been sort of ships passing in the night in China. So
cool.
he's messaged me and we've tried to meet up, and it didn't happen.
That was a great video too, and holy crap.
He just did a Kickstarter, I think.
Did he? Okay.
I don't know.
We talked about it on the show. I'll try and find the link.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yep. So yeah, I'd like to do a couple battery factories. So I
Yeah.
want to do like pouch batteries,
Yep.
pouch lipos. I'd like to do 18650s.
Definitely, yeah.
I also think it would be fun to just do like double A's, right?
Yeah.
Like double A alkaline.
Yeah. Big lead acid things.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be cool too.
Yeah.
I'd like to do injection molding.
Okay.
Like, and I actually would like to do an injection molding project where we really go through
That'd be great.
from a napkin sketch all the way to opening the tool for shots, texturing, polishing, because there's so much fascinating stuff.
Also, you could offset it of like, I got this thing 3D printed. Why can't I get it made into a mold? They're like, haha. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. And probably start with just like an FDM off the shelf printer.
Yeah.
And then go get Lexent, the SLA factory to print a high quality prototype, and then take
The
it all
step
the way through.
between the SLA and the real thing, man.
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know a ton about it yet. I've spent a lot of time hanging out with Greg Needall of Rev Robotics and learned a lot from him. I actually got to go to one of his or to a injection molding factory that he was evaluating last time.
I would be interested too is like, so like, that kind of gap between 1 unit and 1,000 units and 10,000 units, and all the way up. But like specifically how that happens in China, like, so like at 100 units is usually the pain point for a lot of people I know, and myself included, of like, what do people do in China when they need to make 100 units? Do they go get a soft tool made? Is it still 3D printed? You know what I mean? Like, it seems like the services are there and the costs are low enough that it might make sense, but especially as you cover through that, because man, that 100, you make 100 or something, you're gonna just feel it.
100 is always the number that I think of particularly for foreigners coming to China doing manufacturing. That's sort of the inflection point where it starts to make sense to engage with factories and things. Like,
start doing dinners and start to meet owners and stuff.
Yeah, 100 is always like whenever I sort of think about engaging with a contract manufacturer, 100 is always the number that I have in my head for like minimum order quantity of like where people are actually willing to talk to you. But it's still really quite small for them. Like, they don't want to do 100, but they're willing to sort of on the promise that it could grow into something bigger.
Was that your videos where someone was showing like the showroom and it was all white label stuff? And they said like, maybe it was you?
Maybe, I don't know.
And like at 100, it made a lot of sense to like, to ask for the white label room and be like, I want to modify this thing versus I want to make something from scratch.
Exactly.
And that would be another interesting thing for you, because it'd be like, how modifiable is it really? Is it like slap my label on it? Is it like I can change a tool? Is it, there's inserts I can do, like stuff like that?
Totally. And I think that's probably really good advice for people wanting to do manufacturing is like, go visit factories and see what they're already doing.
Right.
The best way to get a high quality result is to find a factory that's already doing something that's incredibly close to what you want. Right. Where you're only sort of making minor tweaks. You get into trouble where you are asking a factory to do something you've never done before.
Yep.
And usually the answer you get back initially is it's impossible. And then
which is different than the US. In the US, of course we can.
Right.
For enough money.
Right. And in China, it's like, no, it's impossible. And then you have to sort of work towards it's possible. And then there maybe will be a money exchange as well. But usually it's more of a risk question.
Right, because it's opportunity cost, right?
Right. They don't want to take risk on you being unhappy, right? And like screwing it up or having a problem, not being able to do it. So they would rather just do something that they already know how to do, and it's a core competency. And
interesting.
And,
so it's kind of cultural thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And obviously, like, not every factory is the same, and some are much more willing to sort of charge into the unknown. But you need to sort of balance that and suss things out. But going back to the question of 100, I think there are a lot of things that Chinese entrepreneurs use for doing low run that Westerners don't necessarily think about.
Okay.
So I think a good example is like the thing that I brought to SuperCon, which was this crazy iPhone breakout board test jig thing.
That was great. Yeah. We will have to maybe there's a picture of you we can use as the.
There are definitely some pictures on Twitter.
Maybe use that as the headline image.
Okay.
Here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Lindy took a great photo for Hackaday on there, and that's on their Twitter. Okay. So that thing is like it's a big chunk of aluminum.
Yep.
That is anodized.
Yep.
This beautiful blue color, and then has laser etched with like a fiber laser like logos and product name and things.
Call outs of where the sections are too.
Right. Exactly. And so it's like a slab of aluminum that has a bunch of cutouts, custom cutouts for like an iPhone logic board, the screen, the battery, and then all of these breakout PCBs that sort of snap onto the logic board and break out all of the connectors, like for the camera and for the Touch ID button and for the screen, and then provide you test points for each of those connectors.
Right.
And so I think that's a great example of like how at least the cell phone repair industry would tackle like very custom things that they don't know whether they're going to make a lot of, and so like spinning up tooling doesn't really make sense. So I mean, everybody either has a CNC mill or knows a friend with one.
Okay.
And generally, like the friend is actually far more typical of the China model. Is like you will have a company that is highly specialized, right? Like if you have a CNC mill, like that's all you do, right? And you have 10 of them, right? And you're a CNC house, right? If you have like a laser cutter, you have 3 of them, and that's all you do, right? And then
So like small 5-person companies, less than that maybe? Or what?
yeah, but you can then end up scaling those up. I mean, those grow, and then you end up with a 100-person, CNC company, right? And then you might sort of branch out a little bit. Right now, you also have CNC lathes, right? Or but those companies will partner with other very specialized companies, and so you have this like highly intermeshed network of very specialized sort of. I don't know if this is the right way to describe it, but it is how I think of it in my head, like cottage industry, maybe.
Yeah.
And I say that just to separate it from, like, it's not that it's not very advanced. It's to separate it from, I think, more the American model, which is like very vertically integrated, and you're going to try and grow the company as much as possible, right? Which it's not to say that Chinese entrepreneurs don't want to grow their businesses, but I think the Shenzhen ecosystem is, at least at the level that I engage with, is a lot of small companies all working together very closely, rather than a couple big manufacturers.
Right.
And there are big, there's Foxconn and things like that.
But a lot of them sub out too, right? So,
absolutely, and I would suspect they sub out to some places that are small to medium size.
Yeah.
And so the company that made this test jig, I imagine, I haven't looked at them, tried to find a website or anything, but I would imagine that they only make like test jigs for the cell phone repair industry, probably only for iPhones.
Right. So if someone says, "Hey, where'd you get that?" They have 3 people they could send them to, but all those people make very similar things. You're saying? So like an iPhone tester, a phone repair person in a market, you say, "Hey, where'd you get that?" They'll be able to tell you 1, 2, 3. There's like 3 people that make these type of things, or what?
Yeah, there's competing companies for these test jigs. Okay. I actually ordered a different company and they were sold out, and so they gave me a competing one instead.
Got it.
That are very similar. But my point is that company designs that test jig, and then they have relationships with a CNC place. The CNC place, machines the aluminum to their spec, and then probably the machining place probably sends it out to the anodization plant.
Got it.
Right? And they only do anodization, right? And then they probably get it back and they send it out to the laser etching place, and they have it laser etched, right?
Okay.
And then it comes back. And then simultaneously, like, they're working with like a PCB or PCBA house to have all the little breakout boards made, right? Which is, very standard process at this point, and then have all the connectors soldered on, right? And so that bypasses, like, there's no tooling in any of that, right? And so you can do all of that low run. You can do all of that starting at quantity 1, and working your way up. I mean, the CNC place probably isn't going to be super happy to do 1, but they'll do, 10 or 20 or 100.
Right.
Right.
It's almost like the old school, like, French, I think about like French villages, right? There's the baker, there's the butcher, there's the canister maker.
I think that's a great
versus
model.
Going to Walmart, right? And America's Walmart, sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think what's so exciting for me about Shenzhen is that there's these highly specialized sort of smaller businesses that are all working together, but also because it's so heterogeneous, or it's so, I don't know what the right word is.
Ubiquitous?
Ubiquitous, but also like it is not one big monolithic company. And therefore, there's very easy access into it.
Got it.
Right?
There's like fewer gatekeepers and stuff like that, right?
Right. I mean, like I can't roll up to Foxconn and say, "Hey, make me a widget." right? Yeah. But I can show up in the markets and find a CNC booth and say, hey, I have CAD files, like, can you do 10 of these, right? And they say, sure, come back tomorrow and pick them up, right?
That is...
Yeah, I mean, there's 24-hour CNC
pretty
turn.
Damn magical. So
yeah, and
right. And then you're just paying for the difference of how fast you want it, whatever. And
and like you can get discounts on quantity and things like that. And then you're the biggest thing is just the biggest reason that people shop around is quality and relationships. Of like getting the results you want.
I think that's another interesting thing is that the market's big enough. The market, not the markets.
Yeah.
Right. Market's big enough that it's just like. So I think one of my concerns would be, I'm getting a bad price as well, right? So if I go to a CM anywhere in the States, some of them are first off, they're gonna take me 2 weeks to quote, and usually it's for there's more overhead to do that kind of thing. And then when I do, it's gonna be like they come back. If you have an experience where you get quoted 5 places and one of them comes back 2,000, and it goes like down 2,000, 1,500, 1,000, 500, right?
Yeah.
Then you're gonna be like, well, what the hell's the difference here? Whereas I assume that maybe there's a little bit more price regularity there, and it's low enough that you're just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, and I think the far bigger question for most people is, I think it's disadvantageous to try and find the rock bottom price in China because you're gonna get a quality to match it.
Yeah.
And so actually, it's more of a balancing act of trying to find the quality you want. But still getting within budget.
And how do you do that?
Going and drinking tea and visiting factories and looking at samples and it's sort of an iterative process. I think a lot of the people that are the most successful are the ones that have gone to China, have met with the factories they want to work with.
Yeah.
And then if you're doing a full product, actually going to the factory during the production run, before and during the production run, and actually sort of treating it as I think the best way to describe the way that I think about it, at least for people doing small runs, is the factory provides the building, the machinery, the employees, the supply chain, and it is up to you to use all of that to get the results that you want. And so it is not, I think a lot of Western engineers and entrepreneurs come to China and expect to just throw a design over the wall of like, here are my Gerbers, here are my CAD files, like, here's my Pantone colors.
Yeah, what's the problem here? Like, get it done.
Send me a sample.
Right.
And then they don't get the result back that they want. And I think a far more effective strategy is to view it as a partnership and to come into the factory and sort of, I think factory owners are very, at least small to medium-sized factories, seem very welcoming to have you come and camp out in their conference room and walk out on the factory floor and work alongside their people to, work as peers, right? Yeah. To get the results you want.
Sure. Cool. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the finding of factories, because that's often an interesting thing. Yeah. So you mentioned go drink tea and hang out, whatever. Yeah. How often have you ever blind emailed a factory, or is it always introduction?
Yeah. Yep. I've definitely blind contacted factories on just like through Alibaba is one. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it is fairly normal to just find a factory on Alibaba or through whatever other mechanism, and then contact them and say, hey, I'm interested in doing X. Like, can I come visit you? And generally the answer you get back is like, sure. When do you want to come by? Like, is tomorrow okay? Can we can we send a van to pick you up at the train station or whatever?
Oh, that's nice. And how disparate are these things? I mean, are you specifically targeting within Shenzhen? And I mean, not like that's a small area. But.
No, and it's really like manufacturing. Shenzhen manufacturing really is expanded outside of just Shenzhen proper. So it goes all the way up. I mean, it's basically nonstop manufacturing all the way from the Hong Kong border, all the way up to Guangzhou, and then all the way down to Macau, which is a really big region.
Yeah, it's a lot of roads.
Yeah. And there's a lot of water in the middle, so you can go up and around.
Yeah.
Getting down to like Zhuhai is like at least a couple hour drive, or you could take the ferry across, but like is almost more than a day trip. I wouldn't want to do a day trip to Zhuhai, but like, yeah, I generally go to sort of the greater Shenzhen area, which is like, you know, Dongguan to like Huizhou, which are sort of the bordering cities. But yeah, there's just there's not a lot of factories in the center of Shenzhen. The government's gradually been pushing out.
Right. When it gets more developed too, right? You know, more people are like, I don't want a factory here.
Exactly.
I live here. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And they've been in particular pushing out the dirtiest of the processes.
Yeah.
So the PCB factories, the aluminum anodization factories, because
Batteries.
Batteries.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So that stuff's getting pushed out. It's still in the region, but now it's like, you know, a 2-hour drive from the center where I live. So
okay.
But I think it's pretty fluid. I guess what I would say I know because of my videos, more and more people are coming to Shenzhen. And what I would say is, like, from a politeness perspective, it's important to realize that the context for a lot of Chinese factories, that there's a lot of white privilege in China. People expect, because of sort of the history of Westerners coming over and doing manufacturing in China, there's often an expectation of factories, particularly smaller ones, that anybody who's Western, who's in China, is there to like drop big manufacturing dollars. Right. And so it's very easy to end up with sort of mismatched expectations.
Right.
And so I think it's really careful. I think it's important for people to realize that it's not cool to just like call up a factory and line up a tour because like you're curious.
Right.
But on the other hand, if you really are interested in making something, it is totally fine to have a speculative factory visit of like,
sure,
you know, we think we might want to do like, you know, metal die casting. Like, let's go see a die casting factory and see if they can do what we want. And like, let's go look at their samples and let's go look at their factory floor, and then let's go like show them, you know, whatever prototype we have and talk about like, is this possible? And if that doesn't turn into business, like it's not the end of the world.
I would be interested in another video said it from you would be one thing I talked about a while back was like a library of methods. So like the problem is I could go and poorly do a 3D model, right? But if it's designed for 3D printing, you're probably going to 3D print it, right?
Yes.
If it's meant for metal bending, then that's a very different thing too, versus lathe versus whatever, right?
And so like, you get into this whole like design for manufacturing, DFM.
But if you don't know what's out there,
important.
If you don't know what's out there, then you're going to design a thing that's just generic and curvy.
Absolutely. And I think it's why it's so important for people to visit factories and to learn about factory processes. And it's part of why I'm excited to do more factory videos, is to give people who don't necessarily have the opportunity to visit all these factories more insight into, okay, how does this process actually work? Because I've learned so much from just going in and seeing the machine in person and seeing what, you know, the factory workers are doing. Like if you go see PCBs step by step, you're like, oh, that's why I can't make my vias too small, right? Like that's why. Like,
it's like really, it's a drill. It's a drill right there.
Right, exactly. And like,
tiny drill.
Like if you make them too small, they like can't use a drill bit anymore and they have to use a laser, and like that's a whole nother step in the process, right? And like, you know, the factory that I visited didn't even have lasers there, right? So now it's like getting farmed out to another factory, right? And like,
I remember I did castellated edges on a board, and they're like, we just can't do this. I'm like, wait, what do you mean you can't do this? It's just the thing, right? They're like, no, it's a different factory. Don't be dummy.
Like it's a different machine, and I think Ian with Dirty PCBs was like running into issues where people were wanting to do V-score that like stopped halfway through the board, right? So they were wanting to do like a TV score, right, in the middle of their board, and like the problem with that is like a V-score machine has like a blade, and you it just has a circular
like
blade.
A saw blade,
I mean it's like a table saw, right? That doesn't cut all the way through, and so like you have to run the board all the way through that machine. You can't stop it part way. You know?
Right.
But like if you don't know how that works,
sure,
it's a reasonable thing to
That's
think
actually
you
a good
can
point,
do,
right? If you thought it was like a V bit on a milling machine, you could stop it and you would turn.
Sure, absolutely.
Right,
but I suspect a lot of people just also don't think about it, and they're just like, I would like to be able to snap the board off this way and then that way, and you know, and they don't like think about like, okay, how is that going to happen in the factory?
That's a good point. So you mentioned Chinese entrepreneurs. Like, what are you seeing as, you know, just as a, since I've been over there, like the people you meet, you know, what are people building over there? What are people excited about as like potential business opportunities? Are they targeting international markets? Is it mostly domestic stuff? Is it electronics focused? Is it more brand focused?
All of the above.
Okay, I mean it's a decently sized place, so
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of stuff gets made there.
Yeah.
So it's very broad.
Yeah.
I think my impression is that there is currently a transition right now from, and this is being backed by the government as best I can understand. China is trying to transition from being the factory of the world to being. So I think what they would, for a long time, for decades, they have been kind of the outsource contract manufacturer of like American or Western brands have come to them and said, we want you to manufacture X and put our logo on it, and like here's the design.
Yeah.
And so all of the motivation for the factories has been around like keeping their factory running at capacity and efficiency.
It's a margin game, right?
Right. Yes.
Stuff comes in, product goes out, make that margin, but
and
maximize it.
And it's not just margin; it's also capacity.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to
make your margin, but make sure
utilization.
You're right.
Right. And so because of that, they haven't really had to care a lot about what they're making, right? Which leads to a lot of interesting phenomena like fidget spinners and hoverboards, where you have like factories making stuff like that they're like, I see that this is a fad. Everybody seems to be making these. This is a way for me to fill capacity.
Got it. This is like the what's the phone thing? The not Shanzai. The Bunny talks about it. There's a type of phone. There's a phenomenon where it's like the copying culture.
Shanzai is sort of talks about copying.
Right. But it's also because I'm sure it's trend spotting as well. It's like trying to hop ahead and say and make this next thing because like, oh, I made this. I'll just go over here, right? I'll just make this thing that's gonna maybe be in the future.
Exactly. And all you care, like you don't need to build a brand around it. You don't need to make a premium price on it. You just need to be able to sell it at a price point that gives you your expected margin such that you can keep your factory busy.
Yep.
Right. And then I think a lot of those guys, while they're doing that, are also like would be much happier to have other customers come in to that process, right? Because the risk that they're taking, like if they're doing contract manufacturing work, like they get paid regardless of whether the product sells, right? Like that's not their responsibility. Whereas if they're making something like Shanzai or just white label or whatever that they're selling themselves, then they're taking a lot more risk.
Yeah. Right. It's
so
open-ended, thrown out in the world, see what happens, right?
Exactly. And so now they are wanting to transition. I think the government's sort of wanting to transition some of the manufacturing economy into really building up Chinese brands.
Is this made in China 2020 or whatever? 2025, is that the thing? I remember
that sounds right. It's part of the 5-year plan.
Yeah. Yep.
And which is the whole crazy thing in and of itself.
I'd love to hear about what you know about it.
I don't know very much.
I've only honestly heard it framed through the tariffs, which is not something I'm a fan of. But I think it's kind of spooking at the governmental level because it's like, oh well, maybe we'll get shut off, like that kind of thing. So
broadly, it's the 100-year plan to bring China into the next century, right? To sort of elevate China out of I don't know if this is sensitive to say, like maybe out of poverty or raise the quality of life of all of China.
It feels like moving up market. That's how I see it. It's like,
moving up market is a good way to say it. Right. I don't want to say out of poverty because I don't think they're doing China as a very poor country at this point.
Well, I think if you listen to like what Bill Gates talks about, like he's talking about like the government there has done a lot to, especially for like extreme poverty. That's a social program thing. Yeah. I see this as like, look, we're sick of just making trinkets. We want to make stuff, especially for our markets.
Well, this is part of the 100 years.
I see.
So there's the 100-year strategy, which is to bring China into the 21st or 22nd. I think they're saying 21st century.
Okay.
But maybe they're saying 22nd.
Okay.
But anyway, like bring it into the future. And part of that is raising the quality of life for all of China's citizens.
Got it.
And the number that I go back to, which I think for me explains a lot of what I see in China and also what you see in the West now that Chinese people are traveling more. In 2000, 15% of China's 1 billion some odd population was considered middle class. In 2015, it was 65%.
Ooh.
So there's been this huge change in the past 15 years of the whole society. So they have this 100-year plan, and they have broken it up into 5 5-year plan segments,
Got it.
and this is happening at sort of the top level, and then this gets pushed down into progressively more granular government,
Sure.
right? To enact this plan, and they're ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
And so this is everything from manufacturing to like rolling out high-speed rail all across the country.
Right. Yeah.
And it's in many ways very interesting and very cool. And so yeah, there's this push, I think, as part of maybe whatever the current 5-year plan is. Is this.
I have the wiki page if you're here.
Okay.
If you're interested.
Yeah,
It says
yeah.
Made in China 2025 includes increasing the Chinese domestic content of core materials to 40% by 2020 and 70% by 2025.
Yeah.
And it focuses on high-tech field like pharmaceuticals. And I'm guessing that's where a lot of the sensitivity comes from.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's like a moving up into IP as well, right? If you think about like
right, exactly.
things that you can sell over and over again without much input, without much atom input is IP stuff, right? So
exactly. And so you're getting really interesting brands in China now, like Xiaomi, right? That
sure.
are doing like, they may be sort of, getting some of their design inspiration or their aesthetic inspiration from companies like, say, Apple. But they're also like branching out into all sorts of interesting things and making all sorts of, interesting products. And so, you got like DJI,
Sure.
right? Is a good example. But then sort of at the more sort of granular, like market level, I think you're still seeing like a lot of Chinese entrepreneurs struggling, honestly, with what a lot of American entrepreneurs struggle with, which is like, how do you figure out like product market fit, right? Like, how do you figure out what product to make?
Right.
And
or the more broad question, which I always say, is how do you get anyone to give a shit on the internet?
yeah,
That's my common one.
absolutely.
You're actually pretty good at that, I gotta say.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, keep
thanks.
doing that. Yeah,
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a I don't know, a blind walk, I guess, but I'm gradually figuring it out.
Yeah. Fumbling your way towards success is pretty much the only way it's ever happened.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of folks that are still like, particularly if they're trying to make things for a Western audience,
Right.
but they've not been out of China before.
Oh, really?
That's like
Okay.
a really challenging thing. And so
And common or not common?
to have been outside of China.
No, common to make a thing with like take a leap like that. So
Very
I'm going to
common.
take a shot and be like, oh, well, I've heard about FBA and I'm going to sell things on Amazon.
Very
and
common.
then there's this weirdo thing that like, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, very common. I guess I wouldn't say that FBA is strictly necessary. Like, you have a lot of people that are just producing stuff and then putting it in the market. I mean, I'm thinking specifically in Huashan Bay, but like there are a bunch of ways of doing that, of like Alibaba or
Sure,
like
sure.
the markets in Yiwu. Like, they'll make a thing and they'll put it there and then look for Western exporters to come buy that.
Right.
And
I have noticed with the rise of how to make a lifestyle business by selling on FBA. Man, that's its own market here and its own thing. And boy, is it,
and it's
gross. It's like,
yes, and going to be heavily cannibalized by the factories that those folks are buying from, because they're essentially just doing arbitrage, right?
Right, exactly.
They're
and then they're going to say like, oh, we're seeing a lot of volume from this customer. Let's go find it on the internet. Click, 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 click. Not that hard to find. And now we'll sell there, right?
and so the challenge for Chinese like factory, so it's really interesting because they're cutting out a number of middlemen.
Yeah.
But the challenge for them is figuring out how to market to a Western audience.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where you get sort of bad product descriptions, weird product photos and things. And they're like, people are getting better at it.
Oh,
Like,
sure.
It's
Yeah. I mean, so like I follow like you like lighting industry, I'm sure, like for video stuff. You like the LED lighting stuff that's out there, like it's so cheap and high quality, and like the CRI on all these video lights is like really high.
Totally.
And the brands, you ever heard of any of the brands? Like I've heard of like the really high end brands, but the normal stuff is like I don't care. Just
right.
LED panels really.
Exactly. And so I think there's a lot of learning going on right now, trying to figure out how to get better at marketing, how to get better at exposure. And so I've actually, it's kind of an interesting opportunity for me. I get a lot of Chinese companies contacting me saying
nice.
hey, would you come do a factory tour with us? Would you show off our product, whatever? Because they're trying to reach that, connect with that Western audience and build a brand, right? And
You could start your own QVC.
yeah. I'm not sure that's really in my DNA, but I
Just
do
imagining,
think that.
just remember like how like the splash screen is always just like the jewelry slowly rotating,
Yep.
like
Yep. There are a lot of companies that make Bluetooth speakers and headsets that would love for me to do that.
How would you differentiate? That's the problem. There's always these things. Like, how do you differentiate any of
What do you
these
say
things?
about a Bluetooth speaker? Like, there's only so much you can say,
When I think of Bluetooth speakers now, wasn't it Shaq had his own version?
Did he?
Shaquille O'Neal had a Bluetooth speaker
I
company
believe
for a
it.
while. I
believe
thought
it.
so. Yeah.
And it's just like, what do you say about it? So yeah, like I'm
Well,
not.
Shaq, just say,
I'm not sure
I know
I'm
whatever
really a
Shaq
product
says.
review guy,
I'm
you know?
huge, and I used to play basketball, and he's awesome. Like,
Yeah,
that's-
right.
Buy this Bluetooth speaker.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Which I think is a very weird thing.
Would he also say Shazam? Was that the movie? Kazam? Kazam. The 90s
Okay.
movie where he's
Yep.
like a genie? No?
Yes,
Was
vaguely.
that him?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway,
Stay up on these things.
let's go past that. Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting though about the. So when they approached you about this, I was just come look at our factory, not hey, can we talk to you? Like, so I think about if I was approached by a company that was like, hey, we want to sell this thing, they wouldn't say come look at our factory. They'd say, hey, can I send you one?
Oh, that's usually what I get.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to be
Okay.
clear.
Okay.
And a lot of it's just you can tell it's cut and pasted emails of like they
Okay.
have found a bunch of YouTube channels. I'm sure anybody with a reasonable size
Bluetooth
YouTube
speaker
channel.
emails hit my.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure we're getting the same emails from the same people. So there's a lot of that.
Okay.
And I think that's just sort of the desire of like how do we market to a Western audience, and it's something that in the past like they've just gone through they've just sold wholesale.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now it's going more and more direct, where literally there are sellers in the markets that are not only selling on things like Alibaba and AliExpress, but are also selling directly on eBay and Amazon and things like that.
Right.
Essentially directly out of their booth. Right?
Yeah. Right.
Or directly out of the factory. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of interesting. I mean, that seems obviously it's going to put a lot of like lifestyle entrepreneurs out of business, but
Amen.
but at the same time, I think it does seem a lot more efficient, right? And like
Sure,
I think
yeah.
I think it's cool to be able to buy something directly from the company that made it, or directly from the person that made it.
Well, I guess ultimately it comes down to what is the real value add of any marketing company. Often it's the exposure, and if these other channels allow exposure, then maybe there isn't as much value there.
Yeah, I think it's the exposure and being able to present a product in a way that is palatable to a particular market segment, right?
So
I think and this is again going back to the challenge, right? Of like sometimes it is much easier for a Western person to pitch a product than it is for a Chinese factory,
Yes.
to a Western audience.
Right. Well, and so like to use that same example, the reason I found out about all these things is a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
And so DSL video shooter is one of my favorite
Yep.
YouTube channels.
Yep.
And Caleb does really great reviews about stuff. And but like at that point, he's the marketer, right?
Right.
He's not getting the benefit of that. If he says, oh well, go to, I guess he says go to Amazon, but if he said go to your local B&H Video or whatever your local video store is, it doesn't get the benefit there, but he is the exposure mechanism.
Absolutely.
So like he in that scenario, if we're talking about true value add, that is the value add.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yep. Totally.
yeah. Speaking of video, you said you don't get to talk about video very often.
Yeah.
But like, how did you get into? Dave is obviously not here. I don't know if he's not like sitting in the corner like tied up with duct tape on his mouth.
No.
That would be funny. Not funny. Sorry, that sounded weird. But so, what made you decide to start actually doing video around this stuff? And like, you have a good video style too. Are you like a
Thanks.
YouTube watcher, or did you have background in that, or what?
I mean, I've watched a lot of YouTube. I've dabbled in video over the years here and there, but that first like how I made my own iPhone video was the first real serious project I'd done.
Right. And you have an editor now, and you do like, I mean, like that's the other thing too. I think you said you did like 100 hours of video for like it was a lot of video, raw footage.
Yeah,
to do
it depends on the project, but like, for that first video, I shot 100 hours. The headphone jack was 250 hours, which is like, that's the level of footage that like a feature film in Hollywood will shoot. It's a real project.
And your poor editor has to scrub through it all too.
I get. Yeah, he's like, why did you do 15 takes of this? And I was like, but it wasn't quite right.
Oh man. Okay.
Hashtag
perfectionist problems. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, it didn't feel right. So I think I actually, my first 2 years of college, so I was a theater geek in high school, tech theater geek.
Yep.
And my first 2 years of college, I thought I was going to be a lighting designer in theater, and I, through sort of a random series of life events, ended up in the tech and sort of online software field during the .com boom, and that sort of steered me into the tech sphere, which I think ultimately was a good career move for me. But I still always had that sort of passion for, I guess, storytelling and performance and that had sort of lied dormant for 10 years. And when
I guess back then too, it would have been like, talk about access and all that other stuff too, right? I mean, back then there wasn't
really YouTube.
Right, you needed a feature film, right, or
yeah,
something like that, a documentary.
Right. Yeah. And at the time, like, live theater seemed a lot more interesting than film or any of the sort of. I mean, it was really sort of only industry. It was like industry or like wedding videos, which and even like wedding videos wasn't even really a thing.
Right.
And so it really sort of started when I was in China, and I was sort of discovering all of these cool things, and I'd spent like probably a year coming and going from China before I started the iPhone adventure. And I dabbled in a bunch of different projects, and I had bought a small but powerful point and shoot, an Sony RX100.
Okay. I know what other YouTube channels you watch then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a cool little camera because it looks like a point and shoot, fits in your jeans pocket.
Yeah, it's nice.
But you can shoot like the version I have shoots 1080p, but you can get one that shoots 4K as well.
Right.
And
I have to ask, do you have an electric skateboard as well? Do you wear sunglasses when you shoot? Okay.
I don't. No.
This is the Casey Neistat joke that I'm making here.
But I do get a lot of my gear inspiration from him.
Shoots good stuff.
I'm currently rocking the GH5 on his recommendation. I think he's moved away from that since because of the bad autofocus, which drives me nuts too. But
there's a new firmware update.
Yeah, I need to get the latest. Hopefully that will solve my woes.
Yeah.
Are you shooting on one as well?
No, that's on my list of.
Oh, okay.
I have to sell all of the excess test gear that I have before I've allowed myself to buy one. I put like multiple barriers in place. I sold all my old drum microphones, which I just did. I'm moving towards it. It's really dangerous. So I have questions after this. So.
Once you start getting into serious video gear, it can get pricey.
It's so expensive.
Yeah, it gets really pricey. And then once you start like seeing it as your job, then you're like,
you have like
a business
I have a credit card for this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, oh, no.
Exactly. And that gets really dangerous.
Yeah. Ooh, boy. Okay.
So I had made a couple things that in retrospect like were Strange Parts videos, but I didn't really know what Strange Parts was yet. So I kind of dabbled. Like I actually did a PCBA factory tour. That I haven't released and I won't release. I want to reshoot it.
Yeah. Again, how do you make that interesting, right? I mean, like, because like I think it's interesting from a like digging into it, but like at the end of the day, you're sticking things to it's a robot that sticks things to boards, right? And it's like,
but I think that's interesting.
It is interesting for the first minute. You know what I mean? And if you want to make a thing that's like about you really have to dig out like, oh well, let's find the failures, right? And I can't imagine a factory would want to talk about failures as much as they would about like how fast we can go. And like they want to market their thing. Yeah. You want to find out the things that are like when it doesn't go right. So
Exactly. Yeah. No, you've totally got it.
Yeah.
You've totally got it. And I think it's just a matter of sort of being interested in digging deep and asking the right questions,
right?
And sort of getting them to talk, but also sort of finding someone at the factory that you can have an in-depth conversation with,
right? Well, and I think having the broader storyline of like, I want to do this thing over here. There's many steps between. I'm going to run it. It's like a quest. It's a quest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And your quest is hopefully always at the end you're showing the thing where it works.
Yeah.
But the in between stuff's just as interesting to me. So.
And this is something that I think a lot about of like there's an interesting factory process that I want to show. Mm-hmm. Like, how do we pitch that? So one of the challenges on like YouTube is it's always the challenge of like getting views, right? That sort of drives a lot of, if you're trying to run a business that is reliant on YouTube, you're making money from AdSense revenue, which is driven by views. You're making money from sponsors, which is driven by views, right? So it's all about like, how do I get people to start watching this video?
How do you get people to give a shit on the internet, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And one of the challenges with that is the way you market a video, other than sort of your reputation of having made other interesting videos, the way you get someone to click on the video is limited to just the thumbnail and the title.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
which is kind of crazy, but at the same time, you're just you're like a carnival barker almost, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't say dolphin with two heads, they're not going to come in, right?
And so people, there's a lot of complaints of like, oh, like YouTube is all clickbait, and it's like you kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
And there are varying levels of clickbait of like really misleading stuff that's like putting a thumbnail that relates nothing to the video. But like I definitely sort of have to think in that mindset of like, okay, I want to go do this thing, right? I want to like, okay, so here's an example. Like I have been talking, we did the RFID video, and as part of that, like I made my own inlay, right? And I got to visit Impinj and stuff. And we talked about like, could we go see a factory that makes inlays, right? And has like a high speed pick and place machine for doing inlays, and they can do like, you know, many per second kind of thing, right? Like, and they're picking and placing directly off you know, tape and frame and all this stuff. But the question is like, how do I make that palatable, right?
Yeah.
Like what is the title and thumbnail?
If a million people are going to watch that, how many give a crap about electronics? And I'm guessing it's not that many.
Exactly.
But that's actually not even the point, right?
And I don't even think, like, I guess I have the faith that I can make an interesting video about that. More my concern is, how do I get people to click on that video and start watching it? Right. And so...
Well, and I have a vested interest in your videos, because if people watch that, they're like, oh, well, electronics are kind of accessible, and maybe they'll, you know, get more into it.
Absolutely.
That kind of thing. And that's, I think, a big thing that's been missing for a long time is like, well, if we just focus more on the electronics and we make better stuff about electronics, then we'll, you know, people will of course show up. That's not how it works, right? You have to like, you have to make it
entice people,
welcoming, and exactly.
Yeah, totally. So, and I think it's one of the things that that I've gotten a lot of positive feedback of, like, oh, I thought that was really hard and unapproachable.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I started watching just because it seemed, you know, I was curious, and then I realized, oh, this actually isn't, like, you've worked hard at this, but it's not unapproachable, right? And it's, you know, it's been my experience in doing a lot of this stuff too, of like, you know, like micro soldering, right? I'd never done, you know, prior to doing the headphone jack video, I'd never done flex PCB, I'd never done BGAs, I'd never even done really very much surface mount. And I kind of just charged headlong into that, and I was like, oh, like, yeah, you got to kind of work at it, and you got to find the right tools, and you got to refine your techniques, but like, no, this is like eminently doable. Right.
Well, and I think it's the faith that it's going to work out eventually if you keep persisting at it, right? So like, I talk about that with like Sprite and Ben Krasnow, and like they're like shining examples to me of, they're like, they know there's something at the end, they're just going to keep trying different things, right? I always call it like the thing that is valuable these days on the internet is like someone who plays the foil. So I always talk about playing the foil, because if
what do you mean by that?
So like as the foil is like someone is opposite of what you are, right? And so in my case, I usually am the idiot asking the dumb questions, and then in doing so, other people can relate to that because they're like, oh, I wish I would have asked that, or I was afraid to ask that, right? And it's like that ultimately that's hard in a world where everything, you know, in the world of Facebook and Instagram where everything looks great. Showing the dirty underbelly and then saying, well, actually, at the other end, there's okay, you know?
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of value, I mean, along those, extending on that, I think there's a lot of value in showing failure and showing struggle. It's part of what makes stories interesting, right?
It's the hero's journey.
You got it. It turns out the engineer's journey maps perfectly onto the hero's journey.
Oh, you have a theory here, I can tell.
I do.
Okay.
I thought a lot about this. So this is getting more into the storytelling and video side. Any sufficiently hard or complex project in the engineering world is, or I mean, screw engineering, any project, any sufficiently complex project goes through the hero's journey, right? So the hero's journey, for those that don't know, is sort of it's an archetype, like it's a story template for most stories. Most stories can be fit onto this template.
I always use Gladiator. I think Gladiator is a very
Gladiator,
obvious is
Star Wars, The Hobbit. They all map onto this.
But Gladiator specifically, because it's like being cast out is a big part of it, right?
It can be. It's so there are a lot of optional elements to the hero's journey. And I'm not a hero's journey expert, so I'm going to struggle to recall some of this. But some important elements are like, a lot of the movie world uses this, and the movie world uses a 3-act structure around hero's journey, and so that's like a little bit of template on top of it. But like Act 1 is like, you have to have a hero. It can sometimes be a couple heroes, but it's often one main hero, the protagonist. Who are they? What world do they live in? Right. So you sort of establish that, and then there is the call, and the call is sort of like the call to adventure. Right. So it's and I struggle to remember plots, but like
I
the
have
Hobbit
here if you'd like as well.
Yes. So there's the call to adventure, right? So like the Hobbit, it's like Gandalf coming.
That's right.
Bilbo Baggins,
we'll use that as the example.
And I'm not sure I know this story super well, so we'll
I'll fill
struggle through it. But So
may have watched a couple.
So okay. So Gandalf comes to Bilbo and tries to get him to come return the ring to the mountain.
Basically he figures
I'm gonna
out.
embarrass myself here.
No. Yeah. So he finds that. So Bilbo already has the ring, or sorry, his uncle has the ring.
Yep.
Gandalf finds. Oh, spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Finds out that he has it, and then realizes they have to destroy it. Doesn't think he can do it himself. Tasks that to Bilbo Baggins.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's often the rejection of the call of like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's very true.
Right.
Yep.
And then there's often like, I forget what it's called in Hero's Journey, but like there's the re-acceptance.
Supernatural aid. Threshold, probably threshold is probably the thing, right?
No, I think it's before that. I think it's in Call to Adventure. But there's often like this secondary like, oh, I actually will decide to do this.
Got it,
right?
got it.
And sometimes these are very small moments. They can be 10-second moments. And there's a bunch of pieces to this. But then there's sort of the start of the adventure, and there's sort of this trials and tribulations, and there are some key pieces along the way, right? So there is often like the training phase, right? So it's like, if you think of like the Matrix, it's like Neo in the dojo, like learning,
Kung Fu, right?
Yeah. Yep. There's also like there is like something about like equipping. So like the racks of guns flying in, right? That can be mapped onto many stories of like, you have to get sort of equipped for the journey, right? There is mentors. So it's often meeting mentors. There's the supernatural aid, which is like some supernatural power, some higher power, connecting with the, going to the temple to meet the, whatever, to get the inspiration to do
get
whatever.
the sword or whatever you need.
And then there's, sort of a series of smaller hurdles. And then there's sort of like the
abyss.
Yeah.
What's that one?
I don't actually know the
abyss. So this says death and rebirth. Revelation, abyss, death and rebirth.
Okay, I'm not quite familiar with this.
We're going off the wiki page if people can't tell.
I'm not quite familiar with this pitching of it, but like ultimately you sort of get to the final boss, the final showdown, the final fight.
Right. This
right? It's all building up to that.
Yeah.
And then I guess one key element that maps well onto the engineer's journey is at the acceptance of the call, the hero sort of now has a challenge to solve. And the more they try and solve this challenge, everything they try and do to solve this challenge, the worse it gets.
This sounds familiar.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So they do all of these things, and the only way through is by changing who they are as a person. And so part of the call to adventure, part of the acceptance of the call, is the idea that once you accept the call, life will never be the same again.
Yes.
Right? And so then
I too have learned how to code.
Exactly.
Or sort of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so and then there's sort of, the final boss and the final showdown, and then the triumph. And then the part of this is, at the call of adventure, we go into the underworld or the other world, right? And I think this is like the known world versus the unknown world.
That's right. Yeah.
So we sort of start in the happy, idyllic suburbia, or Bilbo Baggins, like Hobbit town, right? And then we go off to the mountain, right? And then at the end, sort of after that final showdown, we come back to the known world.
Yeah.
But now the hero is forever changed, and has learned something about themselves. They've had to change, so sort of
like on South Park too. I learned something today. And
Exactly. And so this maps, I think, really well onto an engineer's adventure, right? So I think whenever you're thinking about, let's take a hack that isn't driven by business as an example, right? To just sort of remove the I have to have a job kind of motivation. I think when a lot of people are looking at so I'll take the headphone jack thing, right? I came up with that. That actually, I think, started with a comment on the first video of someone said, oh, you should try and, I think someone sort of said it, could you add a headphone jack to an iPhone? Right. And I was like, that sounds hard. And then I was sort of grinding on it, and I'd gone to the Apple store to get a new phone, and actually had forgotten that they had removed the headphone jack, and I was
You
sort of in a rush.
like, what the hell?
It was like the week after the iPhone video, the first iPhone video had launched, and like my life was insane. I'd talked to like tons of reporters, and I was just like totally overwhelmed. But I needed a new laptop because I had edited the first video on this like failing Air, and so I'd gone down to Hong Kong to the Apple store, and while I was there, I somewhat impulse purchased a new iPhone because I was like, I want the better camera on the iPhone 7, and they sort of brought everything out, and I was unpacking it all, and I was like, oh shit, it doesn't have a headphone jack. I had totally forgotten about that. That's really annoying. And I was on the train back, and I was like, like, remember that, whoever it was mentioned, like you should try and add a headphone jack.
So is that your call to adventure?
That was my call to adventure.
Right.
And then my rejection of the call was like, no, that sounds too hard. like surely.
How the hell would I do that, right? Yeah.
Right, how would I do that? Like, that sounds really hard. Like, these are really closed phones. The stuff's really small. And like, surely.
Also, I just paid all this money for it, and I don't want to mess with this thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Which was my thought when you started doing it. I was like, what is he gonna? He's gonna do what to what?
Exactly. And so then, and also like, surely if there was room for a headphone jack in this phone, Apple wouldn't have removed it.
Right.
Right. So like, surely it's not gonna be possible to do this. And then I sort of ground on it more, and I was like, and I sort of did a little bit of research, and I was like, maybe this is maybe this is possible. And so that was sort of the acceptance of the call, right? And then the further I got along, like, the worse it got, right?
This is the underworld thing, or the unknown, yes.
Right. And this whole idea of like the more I tried, the deeper problems I created for myself.
I've actually had this on like one solder joint before. I've had the engineer's journey on one solder joint of like, oh God, what am I doing? I lifted a pad. Oh crap.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then sort of you get all of these things about like finding a mentor, right? So I found, various people like, my friend Nick that had CNC experience, and
which is actually a really interesting point, because I think a big part of the engineer's story is I'm self-contained. I should figure this out. I'm by myself.
Yes.
And yet that is the key to so many things, is like, let me just, I remember I did this for the Hackaday badge, right?
Yeah.
So all these people around me so this is a great little, keyboard-based badge. There's tons of articles online about it. And like all these people are like, oh, writing basic programs, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like doing it and nothing's working. I'm like hitting the enter key and it's not even hitting enter. I'm like, what the hell is going on now? And then finally I'm like, I shout to Mike Stish, who, I know. And I'm like, Mike, can I just look over your shoulder as you do this? And he does it. And I'm like, wait a second, that just worked too. What am I doing wrong here? And then I showed him what I was doing. He's like, oh yeah, you're in the wrong program. There's two forms. First off, they put two forms of basic on the badge. Why the hell did they do that? But I just had skipped over the fact that it said Hackaday Basic, and then I was down at the one that said like Tiny Basic or whatever. So.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a mentor in the simplest terms of...
Right, exactly.
Looking over someone's shoulder is so contextualizing.
And I think we fool ourselves into thinking that, there's like imposter syndrome, right? Like everybody thinks that, I actually don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. And any moment people are going to find out.
Right. And then this is me as a person. I'm a failure. I'm not failing in the moment. I'm a failure. Yeah. That's the big difference, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's so pervasive. Like, it was so pervasive at Google. Like all of these really talented software engineers who like truly believed that somehow their application had gotten switched with somebody else. Their acceptance letter had gotten switched, and they didn't actually deserve to be at Google.
Wow.
And had they been there for years, had gotten glowing performance reviews, and they still believed that at any moment someone was going to figure out.
Right, they're going to call them out and be like,
they like didn't know what they were doing.
You looked that up on Stack Exchange.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And so I think, I think maybe the hero's journey is instructive in many ways, because I think you can map the hero's journey just onto life in general.
Sure, yeah.
And there is a bunch of theory around. There's a bunch of academic work around the hero's journey, right? But there is some theories around sort of the hero's journey as a model for life, right? And as a model for adventure in life. The fun thing for me, and for what I get to do with Strange Parts, is for these project videos, for these more ambitious videos. It's not every video that I do, right? When I go and visit a factory, it's not hero's journey. It's just like, I want to show off a factory, right?
I heard the call, as in, I got a text message, and there's a call.
Exactly. I mean, we can do it that way, but it's sort of like a different thing. But for like, for these more ambitious projects, the fun thing that I get to do is I'm not writing a script that is based on the hero's journey. Instead, I am constructing an adventure for myself intentionally of like, how can I create a call to adventure for myself that will put me in a circumstance that leads me through sort of these various steps.
Right. That step where you guys you got the RFID to start working, you're sitting in your apartment and you're like, yeah!
Exactly.
Yeah!
Exactly.
And everybody else is watching the video is like, yeah, you did it!
Exactly. Exactly. And so, and sort of like, and then you can sort of start to map the various things that happen in the video onto the plot elements in the hero's journey. Like, what mentors am I going to go see? What tools am I going to go buy? What are the various sort of like successes and failures? Like, what training do I need to do, right? Like, where is it going to be set? Like who am I and what world do I live in, right?
Sure.
And so that's been really fun. That's super fun. Like, it's a super fun way to think about sort of creating adventures for yourself. At the same time, like, part of the hero's journey is really about sort of struggle and adversity.
Some
of
it sucks.
Right. Yeah. There's.
Right. Does it help if you know that it's going to suck though?
I think so.
Yeah.
And if you sort of like, if you go into it with the idea that like, that even if it sucks in the moment, it's going to be interesting afterwards. Like, it's going to make for a good story.
Yeah.
I think that's, we talked about like, the value of persistence, right? Yeah. And I think it's one thing that I was surprised when I started getting comments of like I really value how like determined you are. And I don't think of myself as a particularly like determined individual. Like, I think of myself as like regularly distracted by shiny objects and like someone who struggles to like complete things. But I will say that when I've committed to sort of make a video about something, that is this really nice external sort of motivation that is outside the project of like, and this was particularly relevant during the headphone jack story, where like, if I had been doing that as a project for fun, I think I would have quit.
Right. There's no tie to it, right? It's like, oh, well, I guess I'll just get the converter.
Right, exactly. Like that got hard to a level that was like really kind of stressful, and like it got unfun at about 80% into the project, which I think is true for a lot of engineering projects. Of like, you hit that 80% mark and you're just like, I want to be done with this. I don't, but I kind of want to see it through, right?
Yeah.
And because I was making a video about it, what I was telling myself in the moment was, I feel like I have a commitment to my audience to finish the story. And there are two ways the story can be finished. One is to succeed.
Sure.
And the other is to prove why it can't be done, or be able to say why it's impossible.
Yeah.
Right?
Just good resolution, you're saying.
Yeah, because like, I don't think just giving up is a very interesting conclusion. And so it got to the point where I was literally looking for why it couldn't be done. And in the process of that, I succeeded.
What were you hoping would be?
I was worried that my biggest source of where I thought it was going to be impossible towards the end was just physical space. Because in the last like maybe 2 weeks where I had all of the individual like sub-assemblies working. Like, I had the mechanical right, I had the electrical right, and it was just a matter of like literally snapping the screen closed. And every time I snapped the screen closed, it would crack the back of the LCD because I just didn't have enough vertical space. And so I thought maybe I was going to get to, I was doing crazy things like shaving down the top of the hookup wire and solder joints with a Dremel to try and make them thinner on like, I don't know, whatever Kynar is, like 32 AUG, wire, like the inside, like stripped Kynar.
Yeah.
I was like shaving down the top of the plastic on the headphone jack to the point that it was like translucent.
Yeah.
Right. I was shaving out the inside of the case. And I thought maybe I would just get to a point where there was nothing more to remove, and I was still having issues. And then one day it just worked. And
You still use that phone?
I don't.
It's more a museum piece now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Bring it out.
It's actually sitting in the States now, so
okay.
that I'm sure that it will that I'll have it.
Got it.
Yeah, it's definitely near and dear to my heart. But it probably took me, 10 days. Like from like having a relatively final design to actually get it assembled probably took me 10 days. And so I'm like, okay, like never again. But put this on the shelf. Like I don't ever want to have to do this again. So no, I don't use it as an everyday carry phone because of that. Because I just don't want to break it.
Yep.
And it's like not waterproof, and it's it's pretty fragile. It's like definitely not designed.
Like, this is why they did that. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Like I cheated, quote unquote, in a number of ways that would like not be good manufacturing practice.
Right. But it was. It also wasn't designed for that too, right? That's like another reminder on DFM. It's like
exactly.
Yeah, it's like designed for service or reliability or whatever. So.
Exactly. And so like as an example, like I used up a lot of the extra space that Apple had allocated for the battery to expand.
Oh yeah.
Right, which is fine if you're sort of doing a one-off phone, and like, but some some percentage of phones, like the battery's going to expand as it gets old, right?
Well, past guest of the show helped on Steve Cruiser helped on the battery investigation for Samsung. So,
oh, interesting. Yeah, I'll have to go check that out.
That was a good one. Yeah, we had a very good he had a very good analogy about like putting drills through batteries or something. I've forgotten it now.
I'll have to go listen to that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. That's awesome. So, okay, so what's the last thing here? So what are these boards you brought me?
Oh, that's some random unpopulated iPhone PCBs.
Wow.
From the markets. And there's actually one in there that is very near and dear to my heart.
Okay.
It's actually this one.
Were these done in KiCad? I don't think they were.
I don't think so.
Okay, which one?
This one is actually particularly near and dear to my heart. I'm going to see if you can figure out what it is.
Okay.
So it's a bunch of smaller boards in a big
that looks
panel.
like a lightning connector.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But it's one that's particularly near and dear to my heart.
So is it something with the headphone jack?
It is. Yeah.
So is this a converter? Oh, this is what you probably bought to figure out what the DAC is to go from lightning cable to audio?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually buy this. I just bought this the first time like 3 days ago.
Oh, okay.
But this is the bare unpopulated PCB for the inside of the lightning to headphone adapter.
Okay, yeah.
So I got it as a souvenir in the markets.
This is really interesting to me. These are all very thin boards.
They're super thin.
I guess I always assume, I mean, I know 1.6 is not like a necessary thing, but this is surely a 24 plus layer board.
I don't think it's that many. I think,
look
so
at
that's an iPad. I think they're like 12.
On this thing. Yeah.
I think they're like 12 layer maybe.
I guess there's no indicators on here.
It's a little bit hard to tell with just a couple boards, but I bought maybe a stack of 20, and they're like really hefty.
Yeah.
Just from all the copper in them. Like there's not much FR4 in these.
Yeah.
It's mostly copper.
Wow.
But yeah, they're just amazing feats of engineering.
They really are.
And I think they're just really cool to look at and cool sort of manufacturing souvenirs.
Yes, this is very cool. Is that an antenna on the end here?
I believe so. Yes. So.
I guess there's really no reason to think that there would be more FR4. It's kind of like a wasted space at that point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I mean, you just need enough to insulate, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of them look like they. I don't think this one does. Where were you seeing an antenna?
I thought
Like
this.
on the board or on the panel?
Yeah, maybe it was just a test unit on the panel.
Some of
this
the
here.
panels.
Sorry, this right there.
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's a footprint for a pad.
Really?
For a chip.
It just looked really exposed. That's why. Like this black. You see the black with the solder? Oh, I guess maybe I'm doing it inverted. But you see how there's there's FR4 or whatever this.
No, that's a I forget the name of the coating. Someone at SuperCon told me what it was. It's organic something coating.
Oh.
So it's a different, like instead of the plating, it's a different plating, and it's supposed to reduce oxidization or something. They do it on that pad and on the the CPU BGA pads. So this is like a 0.4 millimeter pitch BGA, and they said like I thought it was oxidization, like the coloration, and they're saying no, that's normal.
Huh.
I don't know a lot about it.
I guess it's like not. I guess everything else is gold plated, so maybe they just selectively gold plate versus not.
Yeah, and I don't quite know what the decision factor there is, but apparently it's better for some.
Oh yeah, look, there's a test pad here. So this is a 12-layer board. Looks like there's 12 pads there. So
I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Yeah, that probably is the 12-layer board. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Only 12 layers.
Right. Right. I don't know how thick these are, but not very thick.
No, that's less than a millimeter, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're not really. I'll try and take pictures or something. We're just talking about boards that nobody can see right now.
I know. But yeah, these boards are like, if you know where to look in the markets, you can buy them.
So they're just like cast-offs from the.
I think so. Yeah. Often you get. I try and buy ones that are bad. This one you can see has a little X here. So at least that board on that panel like didn't test. Or tested bad. So I think they're probably just like marked as destroyed or whatever.
And then they fall off the planet.
I guess. Yeah, I don't really know how they get into the markets.
Yeah. Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I haven't ever really done anything with them. I've just always sort of bought them as interesting souvenirs.
Yeah,
to bring
trinkets.
people.
Yeah.
I think what I have been told is that they are used for soldering practice. For the cell phone repair folks, and that seems like a useful thing.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you really want one of these things, you go buy an iPad, you rip it apart, you have it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do in the markets, which I did for a couple of videos, is you can buy broken logic boards that like don't boot anymore, and you can buy those relatively cheaply. And those are used both for like part transplant for repair, but also just like micro soldering practice.
Cool.
And so they're pretty fun because they've got like 01005s. They'll do like 20 in a row of 01005s.
How's your soldering these days?
It's okay. I haven't been doing a lot of micro soldering recently, just because of the projects I've been working on recently. But
something I've never gotten into. But someone was talking about like BGAs. I think maybe it was you, but it was like BGAs versus other parts. It's like it's just as easy these days,
Yeah, it's not really that bad.
Yeah.
I would say the hardest thing with BGAs is just like if you don't have an X-ray machine, it's hard to like fully inspect.
Right.
But if you can just electrically test, that's often enough.
Yeah.
I sort of ended up realizing a BGA hack, which is that if you put a BGA on a flex PCB with no stiffener, you can look through the back of the FPC because it's clear, and you can actually see all the balls, and you can see whether you've screwed up or not,
nice.
or whether you have any issues. But I don't think BGAs are inherently hard. The 0.4 millimeter CPU BGAs for the iPhones are tricky.
Yeah.
But like the guys in the good repair guys that have practiced at it can do it pretty reliably.
Yeah.
They don't have 100% success rate, but they can do it pretty reliably where within a couple tries they've got it working. And everything else is much more coarse pitch than that. So it's very doable. It's a learnable skill. You've got to practice.
Yeah, I remember Ian brought from one of the maker fairs or something. He brought over like just a practice kit. And,
I remember he put together a BGA kit. I think people shouldn't be too intimidated to do.
Honestly,
fine pitch.
the layout is more of a scary thing for me than
laying out the BGAs and breaking out all the pins.
Yeah. Well, and then the board. I mean, the manufacturing of the board then gets much more intricate as well.
Yes, right.
Blind variants and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. Particularly once you get down to those really fine pitch.
Yeah.
I've done a tiny bit, but nothing anywhere approaching these. The BGIs that I did were only like 8 pins, so like breaking out them was not super hard.
Okay.
So
more layout in your future?
Yeah. I would like to do some more like PCB design and things like that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's definitely on the roster.
Awesome. What else on the roster? You also mentioned you're growing the strange parts team.
Yeah. So the big goal for me, the big challenge has just been producing enough content. I've been working on this full time since the start, and often more than full time. And I sort of have split Strange Parts into the future of Strange Parts into multiple phases. So phase 1 was like build an audience, which was wildly successful very early on, well beyond my wildest dreams. And then phase 2 really has been get to the point where I can regularly produce content and kind of have a machine that I can just kind of crank the handle on.
Exactly. You show up, you want to do a thing, you show up maybe, but then eventually you're not filming it all yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I originally thought, I can do a lot of this myself and just sort of, get processes and get good at this to the point that I can just crank out content. And the types of things that I want to do are just really involved. Like there are a lot of YouTubers that are, publishing a video a day or a couple videos a week or even a video a week, but they're often shooting them like sitting in their desk chair in front of their desk and they've got, one camera position. And like that is a very different thing than, you know, flying around the world to a factory,
Right.
and like, you know, or these crazy adventures where like it's a really hard engineering task on top of sort of video production. And so when I'm spending, you know, months making a video, and, you know, the upper end was the first video, like, took me 5 months of full-time work, and the headphone jack took me 4 months, and a couple of the other projects have taken like 1 to 2 months each of just shooting, right? And I think I've had the goal of like trying to get to a video a week, and that's still like where I'd like to get to. But like there is sort of like a physical limitation here of like, if it takes you more than a week to produce a video, like how does that work?
Yeah.
And so I've come to the realization that I really need to
video a week. Damn. I mean, like just build. Yeah, like you're saying, build. I mean, you would be able to build stuff faster in Shenzhen, but like, damn, like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be able to do a headphone jack video a week, but I could do a factory tour a week. And so that's part of the motivation for why I'm sort of expanding the types of videos that I'm doing, is to try and I still want to do the really ambitious stuff, right? And I have a lot of ideas of like I'd like to go do stuff in Africa. I'd like to go do stuff in India. Like India's fascinating. I've heard amazing stories of folks in like Nigeria and Tanzania, like amazing sort of entrepreneurial and factories and mines, and like I have a lot of things that I think will be really cool. But I don't think I can have every video be super ambitious. And so I've been trying to find some other things that are interesting to my audience that I can shoot in a day, you know, or in an afternoon, or potentially shoot 2 videos in a day. And then I can kind of hand those off. I've got an editor, Kevin, who's been great. He's down in Mexico, not for any reason other than just that's where he happens to live. And I found him online, and he's edited probably the majority of the Strange Parts videos at this point.
Great cuts, you know, awesome.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. We've worked, we work all online through like Dropbox, and we use a tool called frame.io, which is sort of like, imagine a code review tool, but for like video editing.
Oh, cool. So like down samples all the stuff, or down converts it so it's like really tight, not as high quality rather.
Yep. So he works entirely off of low quality proxies. And he uploads renders of those to frame.io, and then I can go in and watch them and comment on particular timestamps.
Oh, that's really cool.
And then he makes changes and like uploads a new copy, and it's all versioned and stuff. And then when he's done, he sends me the project file, the Premiere project file, and I render it on the raw files on a hard drive on my end, which I never have to send over the internet. Because it's just
because Dropbox would be crazy, right?
Yeah, we have like a terabyte of video for some video. So like of raw footage. So
that's super cool.
Yeah, so that works out really well. But I'd like to grow the team now so that we can do all of the things that I want to do. So and the biggest thing that I'm looking for right now, and I'm spending more and more time on this, is trying to find someone who can be like a COO of Strange Parts and really run the business side, like everything that's not sort of directly involved in like being on camera and the projects and creating the videos of like, there's just a lot of logistics to running this stuff, right? And
I remember when Simone, when she got a business manager, that was like a big turn for her. Especially on stress.
I maybe should reach out to her and see
see
like how she went about that.
I think it was luck. I mean, not that she wasn't capable. I think that the right person came along at the right time, and that worked really well. So.
Yeah, and so I'm in the process of trying to find the right person and figure out like what exactly the structure is there. But I'm realizing like if I want to keep doing what I'm doing, I can't hire and manage a big team myself. I need to find somebody else that can be the manager of everybody else. Of camera people and drivers and fixers and translators and manufacturing liaisons, and like I would like to continue to make I'd like for there to be Strange Parts products that we're going and telling a story about a particular manufacturing process, and we're building something as part of that, and then you can buy one
at the end. Here's the story, right?
Yeah, right. True. Like here's the thing we made, or here's a kit related to it, or like here's a tool, or like we're finding a lot of cool stuff along the way that you don't necessarily have access to in the West. I mean, like one of my biggest frustrations is like I'll find something cool in the markets, and then immediately I get 20 comments that are like, where can I buy this thing? And I'm like, well, I can tell you what booth to go to, but like I don't think that's going to help you, right? Like I have no idea.
Best case, they have an AliExpress.
Yeah, but like good luck finding it sometimes, and it's like, and I've tried to hook people up. Like Sue May, my microscope lady, set up an AliExpress page for the exact microscope that I bought.
That's great.
And that's actually been really incredible. Like, I made a video about it just because people kept asking me, like, where can I get your microscope? And so I went to her and was like, set up an AliExpress page and I'll make a video about this. And she sold like 300 microscopes.
I believe it.
And sent me a message on WeChat the week after I posted the video and said, thank you so much. You've changed my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that really could, right?
And so it's awesome. Yeah,
but you gotta be careful. Your microscope person would be like, yeah, I'm retiring, see ya.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And now I need a new microscope person.
Exactly. So that's been really cool to sort of connect the Shenzhen world sort of directly to sort of Strange Parts fans and really sort of give some access into that. But it's still like a challenge of there are just a lot of things in China and elsewhere that like they only sell to the local market. Like they're not set up to do international trade. So yeah.
Where can people get in touch if they have some video ideas, or they know someone who might want to be a COO, or they want to build something with you?
Twitter is great, strangeparts.com, COM, or you can email me, Scotty at strangeparts.com.
Great.
Yeah. And YouTube channel, youtube.com/strangeparts.
Oh yeah, they should watch the videos for sure.
Watch some videos. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then I'm also on Instagram, strangeparts_com.
Okay.
So
great. Well, I appreciate you taking some time to talk.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Before
Thanks
we both
for having me.
Spread out across the country again.
I'm glad we could find a time when
didn't
we're
have
in the
to tunnel
same time
through
zone.
or anything. And that was really worked out well. So it's good hanging out.
This is super fun. Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.